6 p.m. Council City of Denison will now convene into regular session. Tonight's invocation will be given by Mayor Pro Tem Matt Henry.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the time together. Watch over us as we discern the matters of the city. Please allow all these decisions to be favorable in your sight. Lord, we especially ask tonight to watch over the families and the runners that were impacted in Boston today. Please watch over them and comfort those families that were lost and heal those who were injured. With your name we pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 3, the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. I have a motion from Councilman Beck, second from Councilman Spindle. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, public hearings, 4A3111, Boy Lake Road, Ms. Brock.
Mayor, Council, we're here tonight for a public hearing and consideration of an ordinance for a conditional use permit for a brew pub distillery in a commercial district, submitted by Tacoma Premier Boat Center, the owner, and Jonathan Rich, the buyer, for property on the Pioneer Ridge Edition. The applicant would like to locate a distillery with retail sales, an office and patient room at the building that's located on the property. They would save time because he has zoned the property to the north of this location, but he was going to construct the building, and this is a vacant building, so he would like to locate in the building rather than construct one. It would save him time. There is ample parking for this business. Planning is, we notified 11 property owners. We had 4 approvals and 0 disapprovals. Planning and zoning has recommended approval, and staff's recommended approval.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to or against this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Questions from council?
Move that we approve the requested zoning.
Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Spindle, second from Councilman Beck. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4B, public hearing for 515 West Main Street, Ms. Brock.
Mayor and Council, we're here tonight to consider an ordinance for a conditional use permit for health club physical fitness in a central area district submitted by Kevin Arrington for property on city position, lot 25 at 515 West Main Street. The applicant would like to locate a gym on the site. You have a site plan of the layout. He would also like to utilize the 3rd floor as an apartment. He plans to occupy that apartment. His hours of operation would be 24 hours. He plans to remodel the interior and exterior of the building. Parking is on street, but he has negotiated with Radio Vision for the parking lot across the street and also for the parking lot next to the credit union, Tacoma Credit Union. We notified 14 property owners. We had 7 approvals and no disapprovals. Planning and zoning recommended approval, and staff's recommended approval.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Questions from council?
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Malvern, second from Councilman Raleigh. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4C, public hearing for 707 East Murray Street.
Mayor and Council, we're here to consider an ordinance for a conditional use permit for a honeycomb manufactured home in a single-family 5 district submitted by Lloyd and Esther Shrum for property on the Belmont Edition, 707, and that's East Murray Street. Sorry about that. The applicant would locate a 2011 30 by 56 Cedar Ridge model Oak Creek home. The site is vacant. The home will contain 1,680 square feet. We notified 8 property owners. We had 3 approvals and no disapprovals. Planning and zoning recommended approval with the following stipulations. Head code, manufactured home being no more than 4 years or newer. The underpinning must be masonry or masonry materials. The head code, manufactured home at least 20 foot wide, a double wide. 2 parking spaces and driveway provided off-street on private property, and it should be asphalt or concrete. The owner of the property and the manufactured home should be the same. Planning and zoning recommend approval with stipulations, and staff recommend approval with stipulations.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here wishing to speak to this agenda item? There being none, the public hearing is closed. Questions from council?
Move to approve. Second.
Have a motion from Councilman Malvern, second from Councilman Stindle. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 5A, Chestnut Street. Mr. Howard.
Mayor and council, I'd like to share with you the action that we took last week in response to the council about doing a test repair on Chestnut. The color chart that I gave you tonight is pretty much the standard for this area of North Texas. I don't know how far beyond that, but everyone I spoke to uses Davis colors to color concrete. And we didn't do a citywide evaluation, but we asked a number of people, and people suggested let's try the tile red, which is the second one from the bottom on the left-hand side. And so we tried that, and I knew that it wasn't going to be exactly right, but I'll show you that in just a minute. We picked a section in the 200 block because it was rectangular. It's about 260 square feet, 10 by 26, and obviously it's been patched a couple of times, different times with asphalt. And we wanted to do something that would be, we also allowed enough room for 2 lanes of traffic to get around this, so that was another reason for us selecting that. On the right side of the picture, you can see that a storm drain was installed along the curb many years ago, and all that was poured back was concrete. So we've really got a mixed bag of what's there and what the desire is of the council to try to come up with a solution long term. In the second photograph, I want you to see how there's probably about a half dozen different colors there. I don't know, at least 3 or 4 that are close on that color chart. So we're thinking that maybe next time we'll pick a different one and try. The one we have right now is going to be the lighter tile color that you see, which is not the predominant color, but again, there's 2 or 3 different reds there, and even almost some purple plum colors in there. Also wanted you to note down the center line, and this water line, as I understand it, was put in 70 years ago, in 1941, is the nominal date that we have for a 14-inch water line that was put down the center of the street. And although these other screens don't show it as well, the back screen shows how clearly the interlacing of the pavers that was purchased at that time, they did not match, but they did the best they could to try to put something in there that would match the brick that was by then was probably already 40 years old, and so now everything is 70, and the preponderance of the paving is all probably 100 years or more. The other thing I want you to see is how broken they are. Everyone that has looked at this is just surprised at the broken pieces that are staying in place somehow, because that's just not something that anybody would expect. Here's the cut that we made. We did saw cut, although the argument could be made for trying to do this patch to where you would lace it in and go around each brick. But as far as simplicity, it was our thought that just doing a saw cut and making a rectangular patch would be best, and especially after we saw the lightweight concrete that's underneath for the supporting layer, it would just be almost impossible unless you were doing something on your own patio to try to lace this back in for the size project that we're doing. Here's another direction, and this is ready for rebar, and we put rebar in it. But we only poured about a 4-inch thick slab, but it was fully reinforced. And we were kind of surprised whenever tile red showed up, tile orange. But we had to go forward. It was already mixed up. It was in the truck. And these fellows we hired from RK Hall, and they're just exceptional at what they do. And I couldn't believe it. As you see the progress photos here. This is the stamp pattern that they applied. The concrete, as I said, is dyed. It's not just stained, so that if anything ever happens, nothing's going to happen to the surface that'll show through by a worn stain. If anything, we're hoping that the tires and the oil and everything else will darken this with time, age, curing process. Here you can see the stamp itself, and the way they started the roll was to come down one side, and then they, as the middle cured enough that they could get out on it, then they worked their way all the way down through the pour. Here you have a completed stamp section, which took from the time that they showed up to pour the concrete until they left with a little over 3 hours for that 260 square feet. This one area over here is darker because they even pulled a string and were laying their stamp in such a way as to kind of mimic the curvature of some of the pavers that were already there, so that it looked like it fit in better. And when that changed, they hadn't really noticed it, and we said something to them, and so they used the float, floated that back out, and then started again. So that's why that stands out a little bit. But here it is completed, and then these shots were taken, I believe, this morning. And even here, as you can see, the many different colors, all the different, there's no way that's going to be that's just an irregular pattern that we're trying to match. And so we have made an effort, probably $2.50 a square foot, just out of pocket for this repair. And the city staff was heavily involved, but we feel like we're going to have to be all the way through this project in order to rescue the pavers that we want to save for the future, in order to just be able to afford to do the things that we need to do. And it's not that hard. It's for us to be involved, but yet our recommendation at this time is for us to bid out the water line and then be involved in a iterative process that includes us saving the pavers and then preparing the base before we hire someone to pour back the stamped concrete.
Questions from council? Mr. Hammond?
A couple comments. If you read the historic preservation literature, they would agree this is what you get. When you try to match something new with something that's 100 years old, it just looks odd and ugly. And rather than council approving, and this is just my personal opinion, I think if we do a 10-foot strip of that, I think it looks awkward. It would be better to do, in my opinion, a completely contrasted color or just regular concrete from that repair section. And you wouldn't then be trying to mimic the history there. We can't, unfortunately, and David run the numbers on this, it's just cost prohibitive to go back to bricks given our building. I think it's a great opportunity to try to match that color. I'm worried about the blue. I'm just worried about what it looks like long term.
Mr. LaFleur?
Can we not get some of these colors real? I don't think we have to match. Obviously, that's darker color or something that just has some opportunity to not stand out like some dark. I can't imagine us, those darker colors or blonde or whatever color we pick. give us a small sample of that, big enough, 260 square foot of grade you want to do it. And just pick out this, it looks like, I'm sure we'll figure out that. Once it's square.
Did we do this size because it was the size of the load? Is that why we chose to do this quantity?
Well, we wanted it to be large enough that we could tell something from it. A minimum order is pretty much is a yard of concrete, and this is 3.5 yards. And we ordered an excess amount of the dye, because people around here don't keep in stock. So we've got some more tile red, coloring, that we own now, but it's not too many stacks. We wanted to have enough so when we were ready to pour, we didn't know how deep we were gonna be once we started the excavation. So, there was a little bit of pre-planning had to take place.
I think the quality of the product is really good. In looking at how they stamp it and all that, I think it's really good. I agree the color is not right, and I think we could do better. After looking at the red, and you notice infinitely more of the darker colors, I would be much more probably closer to the plum or the granite red and try. I think I'd like to try to take one more stab at it. I don't know what Mr. Howard's opinion is, but I think we need to try to take one more stab at it.
David? I'm sorry, my fault.
These dyes, I'm working with them over the years with the grouting of ceramic tiles. These dyes can be mixed, so obviously you can take 2 parts granite red to 1 part tile red and try to get something. Is there also the ability, do they have any type of way that they can throw some in at the last minute while they're mixing it, so when it comes out, it's got a little bit of a modelly looking to it? Has that been asked? I don't know how creative they are. I mean, I know I've traveled around because I look at flooring all the time, out to Vegas and those spots, and they've got this, and they've got, the poured concrete, and they've been able to reproduce this cobblestone multi-tone look somehow.
I'm just puzzled that there's much of samples. I know it's not easy to transport the concrete. You think they have a 1-by-1 sample?
That's my question to Hal is, could we not build a form?
Yeah.
And just pour, and then write them down and choose colors? That's what council is.
This can likely be stained some on top so that it won't stand out so much. We've got some ideas about that, but we do think it's going to get dark.
There's no question it'll be dark with time, especially with tires and oil and all that. It'll darken down, I agree.
Me personally, I think it'd been better to go with it darker to the granite red or something like that, or plum and granite, more darker, the darker color in there. Or mix the 2 of charcoal, obviously, or charcoal black or something.
Okay, so I think the council sounds like we are in agreement. Let's give it one more stab, maybe do it on the form suggestion that Mr. Hannah suggested, and then we'll see what that comes back, and if we have to punt at that point and do a solid strip, then we can explore that option, but hopefully we can get something that's a little darker and a little bit easier on the eyes there, so.
But this is still preferred for me, at least, than to do plain concrete.
Absolutely. I agree.
Any other questions?
One thing I like to see us do on part of this, if we're gonna retry a spot, is pick a base color, and then you can broadcast a dye over the surface at a random pattern, and then in your stamping, you're gonna get more of a blended color, and that dye is gonna penetrate that surface that is broadcast on the surface. So that would give you a multi-tone effect over having a solid color base.
Other questions? Very good. Agenda item number 6, executive session pursuant to Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. Council now convenes the executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to Section 551.074 and matters of city manager at her annual review, and to hold a discussion, take action on duties and responsibilities of the attorney, and to deliberate on economic development negotiations pursuant to 551.087 regarding the tax increment financing reinvestment bill number 1. Time is 6:19.